Hi folks, how you doing? This is Iqbal. As we know, AMD earnings is due on Tuesday. So earning beat or earning miss can lift or drop AMD stock and can also impact Nvidia and other AI stocks. In this video, we will evaluate how high or how low AMD can go after earnings for next few weeks. We will use forward EPS and forward PE for this analysis. This analysis will help you in making the right decisions to buy or sell AMD stock. Now, let's get started. You see this table on your screen. This table captures the financial history for AMD for last 5 quarters. This has revenue, net income, profit margin percentage, gross margin percentage, earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation margin percentage, EPS, free cash flow per share, and debt to equity ratio. And also, I have column N and column O that tells year over year change and quarter over quarter change. Year over year means last quarter versus last year, same quarter. And the quarter over quarter means the last quarter earnings versus prior quarter before last quarter. Let's start with the revenue. You see the revenue is going up each quarter, and also year over year change is 10%, and the quarter over quarter growth is 6%. So revenue is going in the right direction. No problem there. Net income is also going in the right direction. Each quarter is going up. So this quarter last year was negative, but after that, every quarter we see the growth. So year over year is 3,076% growth, and quarter over quarter you see 123% growth. So going in the right direction. So if you take a look, profit margin percentage, gross margin percentage, and EBITDA margin percentage, you see the mixed picture, right? Some are negative growth and some showing positive growth. But overall, it's good. So year over year change, 2,700 for the profit margin percentage and 109 percentage for quarter over quarter. So not bad there. Gross margin year over year is good, but quarter over quarter is negative. And EBITDA margin year over year is negative, but quarter over quarter is positive. So I do not see any major issue in the profit margin, gross margin, or EBITDA margin percentage. Now moving on to EPS, you see EPS growth each quarter, and year over year growth is 11%, and quarter over quarter is 10%. We'll talk more about EPS in the next tab. Now, free cash flow per share, see each quarter is going down. So year over year is 44% down, quarter over quarter is 16% down. So this means that AMD is not doing a good job in managing the free cash flow. Now, debt to equity ratio, no change. So that's good. So free cash flow per share not going to impact too much on the stock price after earnings. So we can ignore that. Now, let's talk about EPS. In this tab, I put together last 6 quarters of the EPS projected versus actual data and also the earnings surprise. You see, last quarter we saw negative earnings surprise, but before that we saw positive earnings surprise, with the exception of this quarter. Okay, in the future quarter we see the growth happening. One thing you might notice, EPS actual last quarter was 0.77 and EPS projected this quarter is 0.6. So this means that EPS is projected to go down, and that's not a good sign. That's the only negative thing at this point with AMD. But after Q1, you see the growth is consistent. Q3 and Q4 showing a significant growth. So Q1 versus Q4, we see the overall growth is 116%. Now let's talk about the forward PE ratio. I made this table. I put together EPS forward, EPS trailing 12 months, adjusted closing price for last 3 weeks, and also I calculated the P ratio with respect to trailing 12 months, and also I calculated the P ratio with respect to forward EPS, and we also call it forward P ratio. So EPS forward is basically the last quarter actuals plus next 3 quarters earning projections, and EPS trailing 12 months the last 4 quarters earning actuals. And I also have this table. This contains the trailing P and the forward P probably for last 10 quarters. And also another table, this has the earning projection and the actuals and the closing price and also the earning surprise for last 10 quarters. Okay. And I also calculated the min, mean and the maximum for last 4 quarters to use in our calculations. And also I calculated the earning surprise for last 10 quarters, minimum, average and maximum. Now we are ready to calculate the minimum, average and the maximum price projection for AMD after earnings. So I already did the calculations. Let me go over with you. For the minimum stock price, I'm using the EPS forward, that is G4, this guy. And the second factor is 026, and that is this one, the minimum forward PE for last 4 quarters, and the average. And then the third factor is the earnings surprise. For the minimum, I put 0 because there was one negative surprise. I do not want to put negative because that will mess up my calculation. And that will give me a 0 value here, and which is not correct. So using these 3 factors and multiplying together, I get the minimum stock price for AMD is 112. Now for the average, same formula, forward EPS times the mean or the average for last 4 quarters forward PE, and the third factor is the earnings surprise, and that is this one for last 10 quarters, and that gives me 160.59, the average AMD stock price. And for the maximum, the same formula, same factors, same 3 factors. The third factor is the maximum earnings surprise, and that is this one, 0.242. That gives me 229.20, the maximum AMD stock price. So AMD should be trading between these 2 levels, minimum and a maximum, after earnings. You might notice the range is too big, and this is because the variation in the forward P is too high. It used to be in 20s, now it's in the 50s, so almost double from the last year. So that means that lots of optimism on the AMD stock price. At this point, AMD is at 157. It's close to the average stock price that we just projected. It may be a good price to buy, hoping that AMD can beat the expectation. For the last quarter, we noted that it was not able to beat the expectation. See, minus 0.26%. We saw that the other companies, are beating the expectation. For example, Google and Microsoft, right? So we can hope that AMD can also beat the expectation. If AMD can beat the expectation on Tuesday, then you'll see the price go up, maybe around 4 to 5% at least. So if AMD not able to beat the expectation, then maybe it might drop or it can do sideways. So earning beat or earning surprise on the AMD on Tuesday should also impact the Nvidia stock price. So we'll see Nvidia stock price go up or down. But if AMD goes down on Monday morning or Tuesday morning below 150, I guess that will be a good price to buy. And we can keep it for some time. So that's all about AMD expected stock price after earnings. I hope you liked the video. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to you more tomorrow. Take care.